Okay, so what did we discuss in our previous class? Katayini Mataji, what did we discuss in our previous class?
Discussed about the goal of the bhakti. About understanding the absolute truth.
In what context did we speak? What was the theme of the previous class? Okay, which chapter did we discuss in the previous class? Huh? Fifth chapter, very good. Of? Excellent. Titled as? Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. So what did we discuss in the previous class?
It started off with how a learned person is happy within himself, and then how there's like three types of distinctions with caste, class, and species. And then how a learned person sees everything, and then he gave that example of Maharaj who could make a buffalo recite and then it ended with the explanation of how basically how a learned person behaves in the sense how a learned person approaches the world.
Anything else?
We also discussed Mithila Bhav attachment.
Who is speaking? Ah, okay. Wouldn't spot you immediately. Okay. Yes, we discussed Mithuni Bhav. Yeah. What is Mithuni Bhav? So, out of all the attachments in this material world, out of all the attachments in the material world, what is the highest attachment? What is the highest attraction in this material world? Attachment for a man to a woman, and higher than that is attachment to a man who is attached to women. What is the verse? Anyone remembers? Yoshit Sangat Yatha Pumso Yatha Tat Sangi Sangata. Sangi Sangata means a person who is very attached to women, that person's association is much more harmful than if we were directly attached to a woman. Because if we are directly attached to a woman, there is still possible, at least there is no marketing of that activity. But a person who is attached to women will also market that activity. Oh, it is fantastic, you must also come. Like, let us enjoy. Like that. So that attachment is, Bhagavatam says, is even more dangerous.
Sorry to interrupt, Prabhu. I want to take the attendance, so I'm just passing this paper.
Okay, Prabhuji, you are roll number 1 from today. Yes. No, I was just joking. Senior most person in the room will be roll number 1. Attendance. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, I will circulate the books as everybody write their names. So
Okay.
I can
Yes.
see the count.
Attendance, which roll number do you want? कोई भी रोल नंबर चाहिए. Okay, just do whatever practical. आप ही कर लो ना देख के.
मुझको सबके नाम नहीं मालूम.
No problem. So this course, as you know, this is a certification course. It's not a one-off attendance class. Everyone is aware, no? This is not a class where you just attend once and then you attend later sometime, maybe. No. This is what? This class is called as Bhakti Shastri. It's a certification course class. So if you are coming, come regularly and write the exam. Only then this class will benefit. Otherwise it will not benefit much. Just if you come and then go, not much benefit.
Everybody is aware of the Rashmi contribution.
Yeah, that we will talk later. Okay. So Yoshit Sangat Yatha Pumsa Yatha Tat Sangi Sangata. We saw that. Okay. What else did we see in the previous class?
Bhakti is not achieved and it should be awarded.
Okay, that we have, yes. It's not previous class, we have been discussing that in the last 2 classes. Previous class, what was the conclusion? What was the essence of the previous class? Madhavanand Prabhu, what is the essence of the previous class?
Prabhu, chapter 5 itself was attaining the relation to Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then later on in the chapter, Krishna gave the prelude to liberation through Asthana Yoga. There was 2 vessels, then today is Asthana Yoga. But through liberation, it was liberation through focusing on the Super Soul. In And then we saw what's the vision of a transcendent place, which is Anita Samadarshina. And then after that, I don't know, I'll have to check my notes.
Okay.
Three doors.
That's our last to last class.
Yeah.
Good try.
In the flow.
Okay. Last class. Alright, let me say. The essence of the entire chapter, which culminated in the last class, was that for attaining liberation, one has to engage in activities for the pleasure of Krishna. As simple as that. That is action in Krishna consciousness. Such activity will lead to liberation. So that was the essence of the 5th chapter. But towards the end of the 5th chapter, slowly the seeds are being sown for the 6th chapter, which is, the goal is the same, getting liberation, but through the process not of activity but of meditation. So from Karma Yoga, we are slowly moving to Dhyana Yoga. Karma Yoga means unite. Yoga means what? Union. Yoga comes from the word yuj. Yuj means to connect to the Supreme. We have all got disconnected from the Supreme, and that's why we are suffering in this material world. The goal or purpose of yoga is to connect back to that Supreme. To connect back to the Supreme, one of the ways which we saw is Karma Yoga, which is through the medium of activity. A soul cannot be inactive. A soul always has to be engaged in some activity or the other. The soul cannot be inactive. Therefore, when that activity is dovetailed for the pleasure of Krishna, then such activity leads to liberation. Okay? That process is called as Karma Yoga. That process is called as Karma Yoga. The process of liberating through the medium of activity. Please understand this very carefully. Because tomorrow when you are preaching, you have to be very clear on these concepts. You will be asked questions. What is the difference between Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga? You have to be very clear when you answer. That day, who was there with me in the tram? You were there. That day, tram failure was there, no? 112,
Yes.
last week. So, Suvarna Krishna Prabhu was incidentally there in the bus stop. So, he asked me this question. What is the difference between Karmi, Sakama Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, Akama Karma Yoga? So, like that. So, this is a good question to ask. So, once we are clear about all these, then that means we have understood at least these few chapters. Everyone is clear? Hands up if you are not. Hands up if you are attending this course and not clear. You are not clear, even now. Everyone else is clear? Okay. If everyone is clear, I'll ask one of the persons to explain this. Okay. Okay, one minute, we'll come to your question. Hold the question for a minute. Okay. Vrajabhava Prabhu, please explain to us what is difference between Karmi, Sakama Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, Akama Karma, and Dhyana Jnana.
Karmi is following the karma kanda processes to doing sacrifices to get some material benefits. Then when we go up the
Why is the word not there? Why the word yoga is not there when you say karmis?
because there is no connection to the
Why there is no connection to the Lord?
because the activities are performed for your own sense gratification.
Why the activities are performed for your own sense gratification?
So there is no knowledge.
Who said that? Yes. Because there is no desire to connect to Krishna there. The desire of the soul is sense gratification. Desire to hona chahiye pehla. Half the people in this world don't have any desire to attain liberation. They are all very happy in their 2-bedroom and 10-bedroom kitchens. किसी को क्या पड़ी है? Everyone is very happy. As long as I am enjoying material world, आज का खाना मिल गया, I have slept nicely today, enjoyed, made my money, my job is going fantastic, everything is fine in the world. Only when death suddenly comes, then everyone is, or sickness comes, disease comes, and everyone is very bewildered. Now what to do? Because the whole orientation is now changed. Focus is changed. Then they start questioning, why the purpose of life and why I am unhappy and blah blah, right? So the karmis are one step above who? The vikarmis. Again, go back. We started with vikarmis. You remember? Vikarmi means what? Animals are better. Animals are not vikarmis.
Against performing actions.
Animals are not vikarmis. Animals are beyond the. Animals are not gaining any karma. Animalistic behavior is vikarmis. Vikarmi means what? See, at the grassroots level, there are two types of people who want to enjoy material world. At the grassroots level, there are two types of people who want to enjoy the material world. One who want to enjoy the material world without regard for nature's laws, and the other is those who want to enjoy the material world in line with nature's laws. But they both want to enjoy the world. Clear? So the first category, those who want to enjoy the world without regard to material laws, are called as vikarmis. And the people who want to enjoy the material world but using the in deference with the scriptures, those people are called as karmis. But the desire is to still enjoy the material world. There is no desire to attain Krishna. That's why they are called as karmis. Now go to the next step.
Then we come to Sakam Karma Yoga.
Correct. Now the word yoga is appearing for the first time in the ladder. The word yoga is appearing for the first time. Why it is appearing for the first time here?
Now the soul is desiring to attain.
Correct. Because now there is a desire to, there is some desire to be spiritual, some desire for Krishna. However, fill in the blanks.
Where the soul is at the person is attached to the result and the activity.
Correct. That means what? However, still there is a desire for sense gratification. In the earlier case, there was no desire for Krishna, only sense gratification. Now, there is a desire for Krishna, but also some sense gratification. Do you know of anybody like that? All of us. Very good. All of us have some desire to attain Krishna, but फिर भी थोड़ा मजा आ रहा है मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में, ऐश करते हैं, थोड़ा भक्ति भी करते हैं उसके साथ साथ, no? So sakama karma yoga. To the extent that sometimes you go to Krishna also. Krishna, can I marry this girl, which I saw in the temple, Or Krishna, somehow that auction, I should win that auction. At least you are going to Krishna. Whereas in karma kanda or karmis, what do? They have nothing to do with Krishna. They will go to Ganesh temple, they will go to Durga temple, but everywhere what they will pray? Oh Lord, please take care of my job, please take care of my family, give me this, give me that. Oh Lord, I will put Vadamala to you. You know what is Vadamala? Vada ka garland banata hai. Oh Hanuman ji, मैं आपको वड़ा का गार्लैंड बनाता हूँ, आप मेरा बेड़ा पार कर देना. Oh Bhagavan, I will put $2, $5 I can put in the hundi, but please ensure that the shares of Wipro go up and I become crorepati, but I will give $10 in the hundi. So this is called as barter. They don't come to Krishna, they go to who? Lakshmi. They like Lakshmi Devi very much. हमारा घर में लक्ष्मी पूजा है, सब लोग आओ. Everyone will come for Lakshmi puja. Why? What is the purpose of puja? That the man who is holding the puja will get more wealth. So there is nothing. This is not bhakti. This is what is this called as? Is haath le, us haath. What do you call in Hindi? Is haath de, us haath le. I am doing this. What's in it for me? I want something. Therefore I am coming. Hands up. If you have friends, if you would like to develop friendship with people who want something from you, therefore they are coming to you. Hands up if anyone wants. You want such friends? You will get. Many people. You have such friends. That everyone has. Do you want? What would you want to do with such a person who is always coming? Mataji, you are so nice natured, Mataji. Mataji, आपके जैसा मैंने देखा ही नहीं. I cannot see anyone in the temple like you. Mataji, by the way, I just want $500. You know how things are going. But Mataji, you are very generous. People told me like that. आप Mataji, आपके जैसा है ही नहीं कोई. थोड़ा हो सकता है $1000 दे दीजिए मुझे. If someone keeps coming to you and praising you, and then they will give you birthday card also on your birthday, saying Mataji, happy birthday to you. Mataji, वो याद है ना, वो $1000 याद है ना मेरे को चाहिए था वो. Mataji, वापस मत मांगना. But happy birthday, है Mataji, happy birthday. You are great, Mataji. This is how we worship in the demigod temples. जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश मीन्स व्हाट? ओ गणेश तेरे ऐसा कोई है ही नहीं, लेकिन मेरा काम कर दे रहा जरूर. गणेश, just imagine what Ganesh ji is facing inside. He is saying, my God, he is fed up of the queue. If we have a queue like this outside our house, just imagine, no? One after the other people are coming. क्यों आया भाई? तेरे को क्या चाहिए? अगर वो गया, तेरे को क्या चाहिए? अच्छा नारियल, ओके. कोकोनट, अभी तेरे को क्या चाहिए? नेक्स्ट अगरबत्ती, ठीक है अगरबत्ती. What do you want? Just imagine this is going on and on. There is a queue. The person will get fed up. There is no bhakti. So this is called as karma kanda. So new people you must be able to explain in this way. Karma kanda. There is no bhakti. Only barter system. Sakama karma yoga means what? There is a desire to attain Krishna. But फिर भी today we will see all about the mind. दिल है क्या? मानता नहीं. Okay. The heart is still, he wants to enjoy. But bhakti भी करने का. Both are there. That is called as Sakama Karma Yoga. But because you are doing bhakti, your process of connecting, because you are doing yoga, because you are worshipping Krishna, the process of your journey of getting connected has begun. It doesn't matter that you are wanting material desires. That is why the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, what is this thing? Chaturveda Bhajante ma. Artho, Artharthi, Jigyasu and Jnani. He says 4 types of people approach me. People who want mal, money. Okay? Artho, Artharthi, Jigyasu and Jnani. He says that people come to me initially only because they have a problem. All of us, hands up if you came to Krishna consciousness because Krishna was very attractive and you developed Raganuga mood for him. How all of us came? Why all of us came? कुछ तो problem था life में. Correct? बाहर मार खाया, आया है अभी इधर. Correct? Rarely anyone says who has got nice mahal and bungalow and gaadi and everything first class. Something has in this material world has to be a little bit unsettling for us to be able to approach the Lord. That's why all of us have come. So this is called as Sakama Karma Yoga. But because we have come to Krishna, our journey back to Godhead has already commenced. So whether you have material desires, whether you don't have any material desires, whether you desire liberation under any circumstance, please only approach Krishna. Akama sarvakama va yajeta purusham param. Okay. So approach the Lord Krishna only. Then only that will lead to Sakama Karma Yoga. Now what is above that, one level above that? So karma kanda we saw lawlessness, vikarma we saw. Uske upar kya hai? Karmis और कर्म कांडा. उसके ऊपर क्या है? सकामा कर्म योगा. अभी उसके ऊपर क्या है? निष्काम कर्म योगा. निष्काम, what is निष्काम कर्म योगा?
Sorry, probably just decorating one is there,
Yeah.
Yes. Although I understand, but the word sakama in yoga seems as incompatible as the word, renunciation and waking in devotion. Because it just seems like 2 different spectrum. Because sakama means, selfish, whereas yoga means the process of, trying to connect with Krishna. So it just seems very.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
But it just seems very contradictory.
Understand. You know the answer, but I'll just direct you properly.
Yeah.
You know the answer. I know you know the answer, but I'll give it a little bit of a direction so you'll understand what you know. In our
Sorry, can you just repeat the question? I missed it.
his question is that he is not able to reconcile the dichotomy of sense gratification is also there, but at the same time, how can you call it as yoga? Sakama yoga. Those 2 words seem stark opposite. Sakama means enjoying material world. Yoga means liberation. How can you have this simultaneously going on? So is that correct?
Yes.
That's the question. So, and you know the answer, but I'll give you that example. It will refresh. In our Ormond Bhakti Vriksha program, this example was discussed. If my son has got, how many of you love your children? If my son has got 10 rupees in hand, he goes to the panwala. He tells the panwala, Bhaiya, cigarette dena hai. Suppose he says, Bhaiya, give me cigarette. 1 cigarette, wo upar ao cigarette, abhi peene ka hai. De do jaldi. Panwala, what he will do? He will say, 5 rupiya ka hai bhai, hai kya, paisa hai kya? My young son is going to him. Cigarette peene ka hai. पैसा है? हाँ 10 रुपया. हाँ ठीक है, 2 सिगरेट लेके जा. He will give you. So what the Panwala has done? For him, he doesn't have any attachment to my son. He is just giving whatever my son is asking because my son can compensate him with. So he is qualified. That money note qualifies you to get 2 cigarettes. 5 rupees ka ek, 10 rupees ka 2. 1 for 5 rupees, 2 for 10 rupees. So his whole decision making process of the Panwala is simply based on what my son has got. Now another scenario. Your son comes to you, Amrit comes to you. Appa, cigarette, paisa, 10 rupees you give. What you will give him? Right? Why? Panwala loves your son better. See how nicely he treated your son. How you can slap your son? You don't love your son. How dare you slap your son? Look at the Panwala. How nicely he loved your son. How nicely he went, no? Give me 2 cigarettes. He gave. So happy your son was. Panwala loves the son more than father. How does that conclusion sound to all of you here? Does it make sense to you, Mataji? Huh? Who loves son more? He loves or Panwala loves? But he should have given, no? Son wants to enjoy, so give him. Huh?
You know what is good and what is good.
This is the thing. So therefore, Sakama Yoga means you go to Krishna with a material desire. If it is good for you, he will give you. If it is bad, he will not give you. And that is why the yoga process has started. Whereas in the Karma Kanda, tabhi bhi aapko chahiye. Karma Kanda is like the Panwala. You go to the Devi Devata, they will see your karmic bank account. In your karma, if there is enough, they will give you. You go to the teller in the bank, that also Kiran Prabhu very nicely explained in the Bhakti Vriksha. You go to the teller of a bank, correct? You go to ATM, he was explaining ATM. You go to the ATM, you put your debit card, and then boom, 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 paisa is coming. Do you hug the ATM? Oh, ATM, wow, what a benevolent fellow. रास्ता घूमा मैं, सबको पैसा पूछा. Nobody gave money, but ATM, वाह, ATM की जय. Will anyone say like that? Because ATM gave money. See, even Amrit is laughing. Will anyone say ATM machine is, is the most benevolent? ATM machine does not distinguish between anybody, Samadarshi. Will you say like that? Huh? Are ATM machine will give you if it is there in your bank account. You are simply withdrawing from your own bank account. So why glorify the ATM for things? Now this is what fools do not understand. That is why Lord Krishna says, fools worship the demigods for material benefits. And they think that the demigod has done a big favor on them. I went to this Devata and ये Devata का पूजा करने के बाद बहुत अच्छा हो गया मेरा business. What they don't understand is, अरे भाई, you went to the demigod, your karma account was already there, you will do well. It has incidentally happened, your karma has fructified. The demigods can probably give a little bit of bank overdraft to you. They can remove something and some powers are given to the bank manager. Some powers are given by the authorities. Even in your account, if there is 0, they can say, okay, $200 overdraft le lo bhai aap. That is the limited powers of the demigod. But the demigods will not ask you, is it good for you, you don't need it? No. And that's why people worship the Panwala. Panwala कितना अच्छा आदमी है यार, कभी भी जाता है. ये मेरा फादर ही प्रॉब्लम है, उसका पास जाने का नहीं. He is an old man. No, he stops my sense gratification. I will not go to him. So then Karma Kanda, then Karma Kanda, then Sakama Karma Yoga. Because to proceed further and further, all this has to be clear concepts. Otherwise, no proceeding.
Small question. Generally, Indian population, they identify with demigods. Anybody outside in more opulent countries, let's say Australia, half of the people who are atheists, they won't even pray to Jesus or whoever. That means, but they're still living opulently. That means based only on karma. So that means they're still getting without the benedictions of even demigods. So there's absolutely karma.
Very good point.
So you still get it. Even
in fact, they are having mega houses now in Australia.
Demigods, without going to Krishna, you still get.
Yeah. With no worship of demigods, the trams are not as crowded as the local trains of India. Correct? There is much more opulence in the Western countries without any demigod worship. And with all the demigod worship, we have a lot of problems there. So that's one logic. So it's a good point. It's a good point. But there is still one small logic there. One small Shastric point there. Lord Krishna says, if you still go to the demigods continuously, the demigods one day will direct you to Krishna. So by worshipping the demigods, slowly at least you will start worshipping a higher authority. That is how the person migrates from karma kanda to sakama karma. कैसा होता है वो migration? When you continuously, suppose Laman says, मेरा घर में गणपति होम है, गणपति पूजा, all of you come. Now Ganpati Puja, why people do normally? Not because they love Lord Ganesh. They will do because by doing Ganpati Puja, they will ask him 10,000 things after that. You give me this, you give me that. Vigna Vinayaka, remove all obstacles. That boss of mine, nikal those office so that I can sit in his chair. No, I'm just being a little bit crude, but our thinking is like that only. We want something from Lord Ganesh at the end of the day. Okay, so we will go to the demigods and we will do all these pujas. Devi Puja, this Puja, Navagraha Homam, something we will keep on doing in our house. Now in the earlier days what was happening is, the Brahmanas who were performing these kind of yagyas, they were actually powerful. Ajkal, no, you don't get proper ghee also. For a yagya to be successful, the ingredients have to be pure. But now pure ghee is not even available nowadays. Sab mein milavat hai. Correct? And on top of that, Brahmana himself is milavat. Today you don't know who is asli and who is nakli. Anybody can pose as Brahmana and go. Correct? You don't know what he is reciting also. As I said in one of the programs, I don't know, remember where, but somewhere recently in India it happened. Some Pandit went to some marriage ceremony and nobody knows what's going on. In marriage ceremony, everybody is just busy in showing off their new dresses and their cell phones, right? So who's bothered about the Vedic rituals? Patafat karo, that's what they're saying. Pandit ko bolte hain, jaldi karo yaar tera. Time 2 baje. My boss is coming, reception has to start on time. Finish it off fast. Like that. This is the mandate to the Pandit. Pandit is very, usko kya hai? Chalo lagate ho. Okay. I will do faster. No. Rapid methodology, rapid deployment. So he will do fast. Pandit. But in the earlier days, the Pandits were not like that. There were genuine Brahmanas. These Brahmanas were not ruled by the Kshatriyas. In tomorrow morning Bhagavatam class we will discuss this point more. In the earlier days, the Brahmanas were not under the mercy of the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas were under the guidance of the Brahmanas. So Brahmana किसी का मोहताज नहीं था. They were not dependent on anyone. So therefore, when the Brahmana was invited, but Karma Kandis were there, even the earlier lifetime. Earlier ages also people were there who are not interested in Krishna. That has always been there. We are all Bahir Mukha, otherwise we will not come to this material world. But because the Brahmanas were very powerful, whenever they used to do these yagyas, these samskaras, the Brahmana will somehow, what do we do? Kayena vacha manasendriyarva, we will do all that, and finally what will we say? Karomi Narayana yeti samarpayami. He will say that. So the Brahmana will ultimately explain to them that whatever puja you do, ultimately the benefits goes to who? To Lord Narayana. Ultimately it goes to him. Narayana yeti samarpayami. And Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna says that. In fact, today we will see that verse. Or did we already cover? No, today we will see that verse. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. No, actually we saw it last time. 5.29. We finished off with the last verse. So he is the Bhoktaram. So what happens is, the Brahmanas, the genuine Brahmanas, used to remind the Karmakandis that, hang on, you are doing all these things, but let me tell you something higher than what you are doing. For example, in the consulting industry, the software companies, no, because I come from that background, the software companies, usually what they do, they only automate or code what the customer wants. But the difference between a software company and a consulting company is what? The consulting company doesn't only code what the customer wants, the consulting company tells the customer what should be done also. What are the best practices in the industry? And therefore, simply don't automate your inefficient processes. That is the difference between just a programmer and a consultant. I'm just giving you a parallel example to make you understand. So the Brahmanas of Yor, they were not only just interested in just that remuneration. They will tell you that you are doing all these things, but please understand there is something higher than this. And they will direct them to Krishna. So because of such Brahmanas, though they were doing Karma Kanda, slowly they have a chance to come to Sakama Karma Yoga. But nowadays, zero. Because nowadays nobody is interested in God, neither the client is interested nor the consultant is capable of telling about that. Clear? Yeah? So, Vikarma, Anjana Mataji, Vikarma, विकर्मा के बाद क्या है? विकर्मा के बाद क्या है? नहीं, विकर्मा के बाद कर्म कांडा, उसके बाद सकाम कर्म योगा. Now, then from, is everyone clear now? Okay. From Sakama Karma Yoga, then what platform do you go to? What is the difference now?
Not attached to the results, but you are still attached to the activity.
Correct. What is the What is the first thing about Nishkama Karma Yoga? That your desire now is to please Krishna. Your primary desire is that. Not that you also desire to please Krishna and also desire to enjoy material world. But you now primarily desire to please Krishna only. You don't have any desire to enjoy the material world. Your only goal is now to please Krishna. But what is the problem in Nishkama Karma Yoga? You want to please Lord Krishna in a particular way only. Garland service. I will only make garlands if Radha Vallabha garlands are given to me. I don't want to make Gauranitai garlands. Something like this. I'm giving a crude example. So you still want to work only for the Lord, but you are too attached to the activity. My service, I will protect this, I will serve only in this way.
In this case, the Varnashrama Dharma may be implementing scrupulously. In the first instance, when the Brahmana was doing the works, when the Brahmanas were directing the Kshatriyas to do this Vedic literature, as per Vedic literature.
Correct.
This is due to Varnashrama Dharma.
Correct. It is due to Varnashrama Dharma. Very good. Very nicely said. Yes. Perfect. It is due to Varnashrama Dharma. Because Varnashrama Dharma was prevalent there. There were genuine Brahmanas. They were advising. Correct. Very good point. So I am attached to my specific service and I want to do that service only. If you are pulled out from that service, then you are a bit grumpy. But you still want to serve the Lord. There is no doubt. Why will otherwise see all the devotees who are, let's take Garland only because we are taking that service, all the devotees are glorious because they are, mostly Grihasthas are doing. Of course, some Brahmachari is also doing, but all of them are glorious because they could have done anything else also. Why they should do garland service only? Because they have a love for Krishna, for serving. Their desire is genuine only, to serve the Lord. But why you made the garland for Radha Vallabha when I was supposed to make the garland? Something like that. Or why those flowers you are taking, it is I kept for my deity. It's like that. So you are too attached to various aspects of that service, but there is no doubt that ultimately you are all doing for Krishna only. So this is a very vague idea of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Attachment to activity, but no desire for fruitive results are there. So from a desire for fruitive results and worship of Krishna, now you have graduated to no desire for fruitive results, but an attachment for the activity, Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then higher than that is what? Akama Yoga, Akama Bhakti. Akama Bhakti means what? My dear Lord, you give me garland service, you give me Prime Minister service, you give me toilet cleaner service, you make me a beggar on the street, you ignore me also. But I am your eternal servant life after life. Aslisya va padaratam pinastumam adarshanan marma hatan karotuva yata tatava vidagatu lampato mat prananata suevana parha. This is the last verse of Shikshashtakam. This is Uttama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti means highest. I don't care whether you treat me anyway, you handle me roughly by your embrace, or you not present before me, even after I crying out to you, oh my dear Lord, you are my worshipful Lord unconditionally. No conditions attached. That is called as Uttama Bhakti. This is what Rupa Goswami also says in Nectar of Devotion. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena Krishna anusedanam bhakti vritam. Pure devotional service. There is no desire, there is no me here. There is only you. I don't care. Anything, nothing matters to me except Krishna. Whatever way you want me to dance, I will dance in front of you. Simple. That is called as surrender. Sharanagati. Atma Nivedanam. Do whatever you want. I am just your puppet. Use me whichever way you want. I am yours unconditionally, like that. So he may make you rich, he may make you poor, he may make you healthy, he may give you cancer, or he may give anything. Anything he will do. But still you are my worshipful Lord unconditionally. When you are in devotional service, even after all these circumstances, what happens? Liberation becomes your rightful claim. Tattenu kampam shushimikshamano. Punjan eva atmakritam vipakam. Rudva gapurbir vidadhan namaste. Jivera yo mukti pade sa daya bhak. Means what? You become daya bhak. You become the true recipient of the Lord's mercy. Because you have passed the test of life. Under all circumstances in life, you have been steady in his devotion. Never wavering here and there. So that is called as Uttama Bhakti.
Are they said to be aloof?
Pardon?
Are they said to be aloof?
Yes, this is called as aloof. Beautiful. This is called as aloof. You must not leave Melbourne. So at this age, how attentive and concentrated. You have to learn from him. It's a very good point. Even I forgot that aloof point. You remembered now. Aloof. This is called as being aloof. A sthita pragya is always aloof. A jitendriya. What are the three things we saw? Vijitatma, Shuddhatma, Vijitatma and Jitendriya. Jitendriya person is what? Always aloof. He is not perturbed with whatever is going on in this world. He is only interested in, his mind is only flowing towards the Lord. Alright. So we haven't started today's class now. This was all recap, revision. But everyone is clear now?
Yes.
Sashi Prabhu?
Yes, Guru.
Everything clear? Because we recapped because many of you were on vacation and whatever. So I hope this was useful. Now you should not forget throughout this life. Okay.
So Prabhu,
Yeah.
sorry. The Jnana Yoga comes before Akarma Karma Yoga.
Okay. So it's not a question of before and after. There's nothing like before and after. It's not that. Huh?
It's just branch.
Yeah.
Different way.
Okay. So whatever we were talking, they are all part of Karma Yoga, leading to Bhakti Yoga. Ultimately everything is Bhakti Yoga. Please understand. Without Bhakti, whether people understand or not, there has to be Bhakti. In something, to attain the Lord, there has to be Bhakti component. Whether you call it Jnana Yoga, you call Ashtanga Yoga or whatever. Bhakti has to be there in that. Without Bhakti, the Lord will not give you His prema. The Lord will not, without we doing devotional service, the Lord doesn't give His Bhakti to us, prema to us. What is the question?
Only Vikarmi is
Only Vikarmi is what? What is the question?
out of this Bhakti thing.
Vikarmis are out
How
of
does
Bhakti and
he-
Karma Kandis are also out of Bhakti.
Karmakandis have some Bhakti, no? They,
Sakama Karma.
no, not Bhakti, but something to do with scriptures. Because they,
That is not Bhakti.
yeah. there's
That's why we
not
said no,
Bhakti.
there is no yoga word there.
Okay.
It ends at Karma Kanda. There is nothing called as Karma Kanda Yoga. You have never heard of that term. There is no yoga because there is no Bhakti. Bhakti starts only from the Sakama platform, where there is a Mishri Bhakti. Is it clear? Mixed devotion. Some one leg here and one leg there. But in pure Karma Kanda, there is no desire to attain the Lord. It's just that I want something, and whenever I want, I'll go to the temple. And if that desire is not fulfilled, nahi aunga main.
Jnana Yoga.
Okay. Jnana Yoga.
You're talking about Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga, yeah. What happened?
Not leave.
Jnana Yoga. Okay. So let's take a step back. We have been discussing what yoga till now, up until now? Karma Yoga. All this is connecting to the Lord through the medium of activity. That is why the word karma came everywhere. No? Karma means what? Activity. No? By the medium of activity you are connecting to the Lord. By devotional activities. Okay. Now we are migrating to
Analytical study.
no. We are migrating to mind control. Connecting to the same Lord through the medium of mind control. That is called Dhyana Yoga. Connecting to the Lord through the medium of service and activity is Karma Yoga. Connecting to the Lord through the medium of mind control is called as Dhyana Yoga. Where there is no, you are not roaming around here and there doing some service, devotional service. You are sitting in one place and you are meditating like that.
It is not an activity you have to do. Yeah.
It is an activity, but it is not an activity which is, you understand, it's not an activity which is similar to the karma kanda. Here, this activity is only for yourself. You are not doing anything. Yeah, the activity is.
At a physical level.
At a physical level, the activity is not much. Yeah.
And Jnana Yoga, not Dhyana. Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga is trying to connect to the Lord through the medium of knowledge.
Analytical study.
Analytical study. There also, like Karma Yoga, the lowest is the Karmis. Like that, the Jnana Yoga, lowest is the Jnanis. Like that. Okay. And the Karma Ashtanga Yoga, the lowest is the pure Ashtanga Yogis. Ashtanga Yogis means the Ashtasiddhis. Ashtasiddhas. So they are at the lower platform. So now you understand the various towers and where it begins from. Karma Yoga begins from the lower platform of Karma Kandis. Dhyana Yoga begins from the lower platform of Ashtasiddhis. We will come to that. Don't worry about it. If you don't understand Dhyana Yoga, don't worry because we are going to discuss now. Jnana Yoga also we'll discuss later. Jnana Yoga, the lowest platform is Jnanis. People who want Mayavadis. The lowest platform. They are the equivalent. The Vikarmis, Mayavadis, they are all one layer. And the Siddhas, people who are using Siddhis and cheating the common man, saying that I am God. They are all on the same platform but under different columns. If you put verticals as karma, can you visualize? Karma, Dhyana and Jnana, and then put the lower people in each and every bracket. Ultimately, it is the propensity or the aptitude of a person that makes one person choose one form. But at the end of the day, to rise to the highest in that yoga, you have to have bhakti. So that is the horizontal layer, if you like. The vertical layer is karma, dhyan, jnana. But the horizontal layer is, which permeates across all, is what? Abhi, right now you just have this diagram in mind, always. Everything will be clear now. Clear?
Bhakti yoga means you don't necessarily need to have an activity in that yoga process.
Bhakti has got nothing to do with, bhakti in that layer has got nothing to do with that activity. It is just that activity done with that goal is bhakti. If you do meditation, I don't want to preempt the class, but that is what it is. Let's go in the sequence, otherwise you know. But you know what the answer. If you do meditation, keeping Krishna as the center, then you will attain the perfection in that yoga. But that is what we are going to do today. So I have to go a bit fast now. But if we can't finish, we will continue in the next class. Okay? I may not be able to cover the whole class then. Is that fine?
Yes,
Everyone happy with the recap?
Thank you, sir.
Huh?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So now we are moving into a new chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called as Dhyana Yoga.
Prabhuji, you said you will visit last two verses explained in the chapter 5.
Yeah. I said that. Okay. I'll do that as a part of this whole thing. I'll come to at an appropriate point, I'll go back and come. Okay. But if I don't do that, please remind me. Okay. Dhyana Yoga, text 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. Before that, yes. Thank you. So, Falashruti. What's in it for me? Sorry. Before the beginning of every chapter, we discuss what is called as Falashruti. What is the benefit of hearing that chapter of Bhagavad Gita? So that everyone knows why to read that chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So we are starting 6th chapter. We will do Falashruti. So the Falashruti is, first of all, this chapter 6 is called as Dhyana Yoga. And the original plan was to cover from verses 1 to 10, 9. 1 to 9. So this section is essentially migrating from Nishkama Karma Yoga to meditation. We are migrating from there to meditation. Migrating in terms of subject matter, not in a logical progression. Please understand. Otherwise you may think after doing all Nishkama Karma Yoga, then I have to sit and do Dhyan. No, it's not like that. We are just going from one pillar to another pillar. It's not a ascension, it's another dimension. like that. Okay, so on the bank of Godavari, yes.
Sorry, but I got this question is too painful. Having discussed Karma Yoga, why is Jnana Yoga required to be in the Bhagavad Gita? I have this question very basic.
That's why I said that everyone has an aptitude. If there is commerce, why people are taking science? Ultimately, everyone wants to work in IT only, no? No, I was just joking. Okay. So if you see, ultimately everyone has to go back to Godhead. But किसी का nature अलग-अलग होता है. Some people have more penchant for knowledge. For example, in our Bhakti Vriksha only we will take. For example, if you take Jagannath Vallabh Prabhu, not our Bhakti Vriksha, in our congregation, everyone knows Jagannath Vallabh Prabhu. Now have you seen him sitting and giving Bhagavatam class? If you tell him, Prabhu, every day you have to give Bhagavatam class, what will he tell you? Most likely, like that, he will run away. No? He will go away. But Jagannath Vallabh Prabhu, his consciousness is many lifetimes ahead of, at least me. I can say that. Okay, quietly sitting in the backyard, and he will go on chopping those vegetables, and go on chopping those vegetables. 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 5 hour, 10 hour. I can't do that. I'm telling openly, I can't do that. Because I don't have a penchant for that kind of service to the Lord. But if you put someone like me and say you have to give a 10-hour class, no problem. I'll give 3 Bhakti Vrikshas in a day, I don't have a problem. Of course, I'm still not comparing. Please don't pardon me if I'm sounding as if I'm comparing. In consciousness is much ahead. But I'm just saying activity, that's all. Personally for me, my main service I like, which I'm doing today, is preaching. Okay, that is my strength area also. So therefore I am involved in that activity. Jagannath Vallabh Prabhu is involved in, his main strength is in physical services, like that. Bhaktiman Prabhu, again, you will not find him giving classes on Bhagavatam. Bhaktiman Prabhu's strength is what? Deity worship. That's why he is the head pujari of the temple. Okay, very meticulously, beautifully he does. And he'll explain also very nicely, very patient, nice, like that. So everyone has got different aptitudes and strengths, like that. Somebody will be very good in kitchen. Somebody will be good in decoration. I have heard that Mathura Manohar Prabhu's wife, her basic strength is nobody can dress like she can do. That's what people have told me. Jagannath, Baldev Subhadra deities, very careful and meticulous, very committed to her service. That's a great quality. Okay. Now, so everyone has got different ways in which they want to approach the Lord. Right? So therefore there are many yoga options available as an entry point. But the exit point has to be always Bhakti. All this has to come together only in Bhakti at some point. Otherwise you cannot attain what you are seeking to attain. You cannot. Without Bhakti, one cannot attain the highest perfection of that particular yoga system. Because yoga and Bhakti are non-different. This is the biggest understanding which a devotee will have, which others don't have. Yoga and Bhakti are non-different. They are the same thing at the end of the day. In that sense, the goal of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, everything is same. What is that? Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Mad Dhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Ultimately, it is to surrender our mind to the Lord, surrendering ourselves to the Supreme. You may adopt any path out of this 4 as a starting point, and as a process you may adopt. Even not only a starting point, as an end point also you can develop your Krishna Prem through Ashtanga Yoga. You can. If you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find that Maharaj Prithu, so many people are there. They go to the forest and they perform meditation. Narad Muni also did and went and did this only. He did meditation, right? If you see how Maharaj Prithu left his body, you will see that Maharaj Prithu was, of course he was an empowered incarnation of Lord, right? But not incarnation, I should say. Shakti Avesh, like that. Okay. So Maharaj Prithu sat and then he concentrated his eyelids on his wherever here And then slowly, he started taking the air and the kundalini upwards and whatever, all those things are mentioned, which is beyond my comprehension. And then ultimately what happens? He goes back to the spiritual world, like that. But who was he meditating on? Krishna. That is the question. By doing all that, his mind was where? Krishna. To meditate on Krishna, then people perform all the other activities of dhyan, asana, all those components of dhyana yoga. Maybe I am preempting all this. But Ashtanga yoga has got many. There are some stages in Ashtanga yoga. There are stages in Ashtanga yoga. Yam, Niyam are two stages. The first stage is what? Yam and Niyam. What to avoid and what to follow. Kya niyam ka palan karna hai, or yam means those things which have to be avoided. Now, same thing is in bhakti also, uska equivalent. What is that? Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Devotion, Anukulyasa, sorry, not Anukulyasa, Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairyat, Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat. Same thing Rupa Goswami is also saying. He is giving the 6 elements of bhakti which will bring down and therefore they should be avoided, and he is bringing 6 other components of bhakti which will take you up. Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairyat, and Atyahara Prayasascha. Right? Correct or no? Yeah. So you understand? So yam niyam are there here also. What are the yam for us? No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. These are the yam. What are the niyam for us? Chant minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. Whatever food you eat, offer to the Lord and eat. Don't go to Bengal tiger and what is that? Indian python or whatever. We don't eat anything, no? That junk what they serve in the hotels. Because somebody cooks it, we don't know his consciousness. But we go and eat all those things. When we eat all those things, what happens? Our consciousness can never flow to Krishna, because it is prepared by a cook whose qualities, character, nothing you know. Right? So we will never be able to develop bhakti if we go out eating like this. So what devotees do? They cook, they offer to the Lord and take only Krishna Prasadam, because that is what purifies intelligence. Otherwise it is not going to happen. You had a question?
So by doing Ashtanga yoga as well, or Dhyana yoga, if he is meditating on Krishna, then he gets the ultimate benefit. Right? He reaches the ultimate destination. But elsewhere in the earlier classes or somewhere in our session you mentioned that even if one is doing a Dhyana yoga, meditating on Krishna, but ultimately Krishna appears to him only in a 400 form and tells him, you have to take birth as a devotee now and then do devotional service, then only you can attain it. Right? Then even if the Ashtanga yoga is done towards Krishna, you are not getting the ultimate benefit. Right?
No. Okay, so that explanation is in a different context. Okay, I will come to that. Just hold on to that question. It's a good question. I will come to that. Hold that question for some time. But remind me if I don't answer. I will answer that question. It's in a different context that is given. That is in the context of explaining the 3 stages of realization. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So that is a different thread of discussion. This is a different thread of discussion. Here what we are saying, at the end of the day, without bhakti you cannot attain the Lord. Now with that bhakti, what form of the Lord you attain is a different subject matter. Whether you attain Brahman feature or Paramatma or Bhagavan, all 3 are Bhagavan only. One is the formless aspect and one is the form aspect. Okay. So shall we go to Falashruti now? Okay, Falashruti. So in the banks of the Godavari, there was a town called Pratishtanpur. Okay, it doesn't matter. Still. Okay. Now, over there, Lord Vishnu resides in that place and he is known as Pippalesh. In that particular town, there was a king by the name Janashruti. Now this king Janashruti, he was very famous for performing opulent fire sacrifices. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we have heard of one such personality who was very famous for very opulent sacrifices. Remember? Anyone remembers who? Shrimatagini Mataji, you remember? Huh? Prithu Maharaj? For the famous sacrifices, no? Quality of sacrifices, yeah. So it was almost like Prithu Maharaj only. Very opulent fire sacrifices. What was the name of this king? It will come in the exam. Janashruti, please remember. Okay, I will ask you the question. Only you I will ask. 13th question for you. Okay. So King Janashruti, so he used to perform opulent fire sacrifices daily. So much so that the smoke from the fire sacrifices reached the Nandanvan, which is in the Heavenly planets, not Golok. Nandanvan gardens in the heavenly planets, where there is, what is that? What is the drink? Somras and all. Nandanvan, beautiful forests of Nandanvan. It reached the demigods like that. So the Kalpa Vriksha trees in Nandanvan, they became black because of the smoke emanating from it. That was the kind of yajna he was performing. Janashruti. So who is pleased by yajnas? Demigods. We have read that, no? Anna Dhavati Bhutani Parjanya Anna Sambhava, like that, no? Prabhupada writes. The demigods are pleased when you do such yajnas. And the demigods therefore always shower a lot of mercy. This is a karma kanda kind of yajna. So the demigods shower a lot of mercy. So the demigods, they always resided in this place. Which place is this? Pratishtanpur. Who is the name of the king? Very good. Okay. You have understood 6th chapter now. So the demigods always resided in Pratishtanpur. Now this person Janashruti, he was also very famous to give away charities. One of you has to do it. If noise comes again, close it. I hope there will be no noise now. It looks silent now. When you open it, we'll know. So it's a bit easier on all of you. I feel pity on people sitting behind. Narendra Prabhu and Sheshadri Prabhu and everyone. I think this is okay. It's tolerable. Okay. So this king Janashruti, he was very good at giving charity also. So he was doing two things. What he was doing? He was doing fire sacrifices and charity. And the smoke from the fire sacrifices went up to the heavenly planets and made the leaves black. Like that. And he also used to dig lot of wells and for people's welfare. So he was more like a philanthropic person, doing community welfare, that kind of very pious person like that. There was ample rain, ample crops, and there were no rodents. Like in Kali Yuga there is. And therefore you have to use fertilizers and all that. So nothing like that. Everything was very opulent, naturally opulent. And the demigods as swans used to visit that place, which was called as Pratishtanpur. Thank you. So now what happened was, as the demigods were flowing, swan like, in the form of a swan, there was one demigod whose name was Bhadrashrav, who flew slightly ahead of the flock. So whenever they used to fly above King Janashruti's palace, they always used to pay their respects to King Janashruti. But for one person, this Bhadrashava, he straight away flew ahead and he ignored this Janashruti. So the other demigods asked, why did you do that? Why are you ignoring? So King Janashruti said, is this king? Sorry, not King Janashruti. Bhadrashrava said, very good, you are attentive. Bhadrashrava said that is your King Janashruti as powerful as sage Raikwa. So there was one sage Raikwa. Okay. Is he as powerful as that sage Raikwa? So when the king heard this, that someone is asking, one of the demigods has made a comment on me, am I as great as the sage Raikwa? The king immediately asked his driver, Maha, not car driver, chariot driver. There was no cars then. Okay. He asked the chariot driver, Maha, you go and find out where this sage Raikwa is. So Maha, who is the chariot driver of king, who lived in Pratishtanpur, yeah, which was on the banks of the river. Very good. Okay. So he went ahead in search of Mahaprasad was gone inside. Okay. So this Maha goes and then he visits the Kashi Vishwanath temple which is in? How did you know that? In Kashi. Yeah. Okay. And then he also went to the Gaya. He went to Gaya and visited the Gadadhar temple, Vishnu Gadadhar. That's in Gaya. He went there. He went to Mathura. It doesn't matter where all he went, but he went to several places. And finally he reached Kashmir. Finally he reached north to Kashmir. And in Kashmir, he saw a large shining white place. And he saw that even fools looked like demigods in that place. Okay, nobody is from Kashmir, no here. I have nothing against people from Kashmir, but this is what is described in the Shastras. Even fools looked very handsome, like demigods they were all looking. Okay, so and why fools look like demigods? Because what was happening in Kashmir was there was sacrificial fires were being burnt in that Kashmir also by another king. This fellow was also doing sacrificial fires, but in Kashmir somebody else was also doing sacrificial fires. And they were burning continuously. Because they were burning continuously, it is described that rows of clouds always hung over that place. Like that. Now this was being performed by one King Manikeshwar. Like that. So outside the King Manikeshwar temple, there was a cart. And under that cart, who was sitting? Sage Raikwa was sitting. Okay. So Maha went to Sage Raikwa and asked him, who are you? And because this Raikwa, despite all this opulence around him, all the Kashmir and demigods and everything, so much opulence was there, he was sitting in a cart, as if totally detached from that place. So he asked, who are you? Who asked who? Maha asked Sage Raikwa, who are you? And how come you are so elevated that you are just not, appreciating anything, you are just almost detached, he looks like that. So the Sage Raikwa told him, even as he asked, who are you? You look very elevated. Sage Raikwa told him, I am fully satisfied, I don't need anything, you can go. So this is the symptom of people who are very detached. This is symptom like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji also showed such symptoms. People will go to him, Babaji Ashirwad. Babaji will say, go away from here. Because he will see through you. Why you have come to him for. They will know who to entertain, who is genuinely coming for spiritual knowledge and who is just coming to do character assessment for a media newspaper. So they will reject such people. The self-realized people don't interact. So immediately, because he was used to seeing such people, Sage Raikwa. So immediately asked, who are you? How come you are looking so elevated? He said, go away from here. I don't want anything from you, I am fully satisfied. Because he knows that this person has been sent by the king. So self-realized people don't have anything to do with kings. So he immediately said, I don't want anything, go away. Like that. So he came back, Maha came back after meeting Sage Raikwa, and the king said, I also want to come. And with all valuable gifts, the king approached Sage Raikwa. Now what do you think Sage Raikwa would have told him? Go away. That's what he did. He told, go away. All these gifts of yours which are coming from the palace, they are useless to me. Take them back in your own chariot and go from here. Like that. So then what happened? Immediately on seeing that, the king took a lower position. The king took a lower position. He took a very humble position in front of the sage. And he asked humbly, the word humbly was written there. He asked humbly, Pranipat. He asked, Maharaj, please explain, how did you attain the level of renunciation and devotion that you have, that nothing attracts you? Please explain it to me. Now you are taking a humble position. You are not going to judge him or to assess him. You have gone to inquire from him. So he goes and asks him. And then Sage Raikwa, what does he say? I attained this level of renunciation and this level of devotion by
Chapter 6.
Very good. By reading chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. So all the story was to come to that point. Huh? Do you want any more Falashrutis for the future chapters? You want? Yes or no?
Yes.
What? Some story has to be there, no? All philosophy only. Maybe I'll ask a question on Falashruti this time. Let us test your memory. Okay. Alright. So, then Raikwa recited the 6th canto of Bhagavad Gita. Sorry, 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So King Raikwa recited Sage Raikwa recited the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita to Maha chala gaya bhai. King aa gaya. King has gone the chariot. He has got the king with lot of gifts. Okay. So he told King Janashruti. That's why I'll ask one question in the exam. So you'll have to play this video 10,000 times to remember all these characters. Okay. So Raikva recited the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita to King Janashruti, following which King Janashruti daily recited the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And both of them went back to Godhead. So anyone who recites this 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and hears this 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita attentively and writes good answers in the examination, that I am saying, okay, will soon attain service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu and will attain renunciation from material things. Hands up if you want renunciation from material things. Hands up if you didn't raise a hand. Everyone wants renunciation. Mata, you don't want renunciation? You want? You're for the specs, huh? Yes. Okay. So renunciation, and it is said of this there is no doubt. If we hear 6th chapter, if we study of Bhagavad Gita, one will get renunciation very soon. Vairagya. Vairagya through bhakti. Because that Vairagya which doesn't come through bhakti is called as Markat Vairagya. Monkeys are also renounced. They don't wear any clothes. That is called as Markat Vairagya. Okay. We want opulent clothes, right? We want that, what is that, Van Heusen shirt, polo trouser, whatever, no? But monkeys do not. But does it mean monkeys are more renounced than? No. That is called Markat Vairagya. Simply renunciation. They are still enjoying sex with female monkeys all the time, right? So, that renunciation is called as Markat Vairagya. Because that renunciation is not backed by bhakti. So, Vairagya should come from bhakti. Otherwise, that Vairagya is like Markat Vairagya. Which verse says this? Last time we did, no? No one remembers? If all the religious practices, neha yat karma dharmaya, na viragaya kalpate, na tirtha pada sevaya, jivan api mrito hisa. Na iha yat karma dharmaya. That religious activities which does not lead to renunciation. That religious activities, na iha yat karma dharmaya. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, so don't search in Bhagavad Gita. Na iha yat karma dharmaya. Whatever karma you do, whatever dharma you do, right? Na viragaya kalpate. If those things do not lead you to renunciation, but such renunciation, even if it leads you to such renunciation, but such renunciation doesn't lead you to na tirtha pada sevaya, to service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then jivan api mrito hi saha. Then even if you are living, you are like a dead person. So what did we say? Those religious activities which do not lead to renunciation. That renunciation which does not lead to bhakti is useless. Those activities or religious activities are also useless, and that renunciation is also useless if it doesn't lead to bhakti. Sometimes renunciation can lead to quite the opposite. Instead of humility, it can lead to pride. मैं निर्जल एकादशी कर सकता हूँ. I can stay without water for 5 days. आप कर सकते हो क्या? So you will become proud because see how simple life I am leading. You people are so fallen. You want Dolce and Gabbana goggles. Look at me. I am just having one dhoti and kurta. So what is happening is by this, only pride is coming. By this simplicity. We are getting too proud of our humility and simplicity. So such renunciation will not withstand for a long time. Renunciation which comes from bhakti will only withstand. But the beauty is, by bhakti, renunciation will automatically come. By renunciation, not necessarily bhakti will come. But by bhakti, renunciation will automatically come. Which verse is that? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Hetutam. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. First canto, second chapter. So, what will happen? Renunciation will automatically come from bhakti. Like that. Okay? And that renunciation is always will stand for a long time. Because its standing foundation is good. If the foundation is good, then the building is strong. That renunciation which is built on the foundation of bhakti is always stronger. Because that renunciation which is on the platform of bhakti is obtained by the mercy of the Lord, not by our own endeavor. Our endeavor is only one, that I am trying to please you. And He rewards or awards us with renunciation. He awards us with renunciation. Not that I am renouncing and now I am become proud. I am only serving you, so you are giving me renunciation. By His mercy then we get. Not by our own endeavor we are trying to renounce. By our own endeavor, what is that we are doing? We are simply doing devotional activities. All other things will come. Because when we do devotional activities, all the good qualities of the demigods will automatically manifest in us. Which verse is that? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavad akinchana sarvair gunair tatra samasate sura hara abhakta puto mahatguna manorathena sati dhavata vahi. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavad akinchana. By performing devotional service, all the good qualities of the demigods will automatically dawn on the devotee. Akinchana bhakti will dawn on us. Haro abhakta kuto mahatguna. Non-devotees will never have these good qualities. Even if they are showing these good qualities, it is only because temporarily the modes of material nature are acting on them. Which mode will act on a devotee temporarily if he is showing good qualities? Mode of goodness will act. That's why non-devotees, Prabhupada said, never trust a non-devotee. Even if he is doing good for you, even if he is good to you, because he always wants something out of it. So non-devotees also are very good, but that goodness will not stand the test of time. Through bhakti, we are trying to elevate ourselves beyond the three modes. So everyone clear? What is the Falashruti of Dhyana Yoga? Let's go to text 1. We'll start the class now, okay? We'll go till 10:30.
Yeah.
No, I was joking. We'll end the class on time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruit of his work and who works as he is obligated. Sachin Prabhu, will you be able to read? I don't know. Is it convenient? Is it convenient for you to read from there? Otherwise you can take a book if it's not convenient. Yeah. They can share. Yeah. Let you Sheshadev Prabhu, you share with Narendra Prabhu. Okay. So we are reading text 1 from Dhyana Yoga. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So Jayamani Prabhu, you want to read?
In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and senses. However, this is very difficult for the people in general to perform, especially in this Kali Yuga. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better.
Can you read that sentence again? These here, these are the punchlines of Srila Prabhupada.
Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better.
Now then, why do you want to read this chapter?
So there are a lot of people who are now doing yoga, meditation.
For the purpose of preaching. We must know what's happening outside of Bhakti Yoga. Only then we can tell the people. No? That's why. From a preaching point of view, we must know this.
Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia. But no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of the world. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the supreme whole and not for personal satisfaction is a perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties and therefore they cease to perform Agni Hotra yajnas, fire sacrifices. But actually they are self-interested because their goal is becoming one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for satisfaction of the whole, without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfection symbol of renunciation, praised in this way.
न धनम न जनम न सुंदरीम कवितम वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिर अहैतुकीतु.
O mighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth.
So what are the points here?
So to that punchline that you said, that even though the Eightfold Yoga system has been recommended, Karma Yoga is the best. So out of those three pillars, still Karma Yoga is the best according to Krishna. So the activity is important, right? Rather than
Not Karma Yoga is the best. Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness.
action in Krishna. So the Dhyana Yogis or the Jnana Yogis, even though they might be, their goal might be to attain Krishna, but the process of attaining Krishna through service is better than other two yogas, other two pillars. Is that what?
You are right, but there is not exactly. You are right largely. See, please understand, Prabhupada. This is Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada is writing this purport in which year? Around 1965. Around that period, Prabhupada is writing all this, right? So the Kali Yuga, 1965 is not too different from today, spiritually. Materially it may be, right? So Srila Prabhupada is writing to the current Kali Yuga audience. So he is telling the current Kali Yuga audience that for us, don't try all this Dhyana Yoga and all these things. It will not work for all of you. Because he knows people will take their briefcase and go to office on Monday. Where is the question of Dhyana Yoga? Because what is the first step in Dhyana Yoga? First is to leave home. Hands up if you are willing to leave your house. Anyone here willing to leave house? Not possible. We are too attached to our Asian paints. Tractor distemper. We are too attached to our house. Brick walls. Mortgage, no? We have paid. Most attachment is there. So therefore nobody is going to leave. So Prabhupada knows that. So at the outset he immediately tells, it will not work. So don't go that way. But still please understand, because obviously an Acharya has to give us all. Otherwise people will think Prabhupada did not know Dhyana Yoga. There are enough rascals, if you like, who have commented like that. Prabhupada did not give the highest, and Prabhupada did not give this, Prabhupada did not give that. Prabhupada has given everything, actually. But Prabhupada did not, he knows that too much information, even whatever Prabhupada gave, we are lazy to read, we can't read. Right? There is no time. Correct? So what to speak of, Prabhupada is giving even more. Actually Prabhupada gave everything. So he gave us everything that we need to know. So we don't need to know the intricacies of Ashtanga Yoga. Prabhupada had less time on the planet. And so much he has already done in that less time, which no human being, no mortal can ever do in the wildest imagination. Right? So he didn't want to waste time writing about things which are not relevant for this Yuga. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. What was the thing in Satya? Satya Yuga, what was the process? Because the mind was peaceful. Mind peaceful. Hands up if your mind is peaceful today. Anybody's mind peaceful here? Half the time we don't know whether our jobs will be there or not. Correct? At least my mind is not peaceful. In this recession, Newspaper is coming. Victoria goes under recession. The Ted Velu or whatever he is, he has gone. So all bad news only in the newspaper. So whose mind will be very peaceful? Correct? Huh?
Peace is no peaceful, full of peace.
Mind is peace. Chur. There is no peace. So there is no question of performing Dhyan Yoga in this day and age. Because Kalau Asmin Yuge Janaha, what is that verse? What is the first line? Prayana Alpa Ayushya Sabhya Kalau Asmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Mateo Manda Vage Upadota. In this Kali Yuga, all the people are less intelligent, lazy, disturbed, always disturbed, right? In such a situation, किसी को पकड़ के if you tell them, चलो भाई घर छोड़ के अष्टांग योगा करने जाते हैं, nobody will come with you or what? Nobody will come. Forest में जाएंगे, जंगल में चले जाएंगे. Even many times in the house, the husband, or the wife, sometimes in an anger, I have seen, I don't do that, I have not done that with you. Okay? But I have seen in my house earlier, sometimes earlier family jagada, sometimes somebody will say, I will simply get out of this house and go to the forest. He'll go till the main road, after 5 minutes he'll come back. Where to? Nobody has gone to the forest. I have seen this n number of times in families. I'm going, renouncing everything, I'm just go somewhere. Where you will go, bhai? Till the bus stop you will go maximum. Come back after that, railway station, and after that again come back home. Idhar jayega. Right? Why? Because attachment is there to the home. To be able to do Ashtanga Yoga, first of all you must, your material attachment should not be there at the very outset. There should be some level of renunciation inside.
Forest also should be available.
Forest also available. You go to the forest, terrorists will capture and take you on the other side and hold you hostage, for something. You will say, why did I come here? Or Veerappan will be there, sandalwood smuggler. Correct? So there is no forest also where there is peaceful. Or some real estate builder will come and say, look, I want to build skyscraper here. Special economic zone I will build here. So and so Information Technology Limited will be built. Get rid of all the trees and build software park. Like that. So there is no place in this world where one can go Shanti say and sit and do Ashtanga Yoga. Not possible. Whatever you may do, you will still carry your cell phone there. It will ring. Provided signals are there. Correct? We are so used to all these things. So we can't. Ashtanga Yoga. Prabhupada is outright, he knows. He is saying, let's not waste time. That day our Parashar uncle, what's his initiative name? I forgot. Madan Mohan Prabhu. Madan Prabhu, he came and told me, can you come and give a lecture? I will not say it because I'm on camera, I will not say that openly. But he came and he asked me to give a lecture in some forum where they supposedly do meditation. Can you come there and tell them, thoda akkal dalo, he said. Now, why the problem with meditation? This so-called meditation centers, people will say, meditation center, come, enjoy peaceful moments and all that. But the peaceful moments at best will only last till you are doing that meditation. When you come out of the meditation, again you are gone. Correct? And what that meditation, in that meditation people sometimes say, Gaurang Prabhu says in one class, Bada Anand aaya. Kya dhyan lagaya humne. They will sit like that. Then you sit like that. And obviously, people are fed up with material world. They don't have 5 minutes for themselves. So when you sit like that, Shanti say, what will come to you? Sleep will. So maja aaya. So relaxing it was. बहुत अच्छा नींद आता है ये meditation करने के बाद. After this meditation, I never slept like I have slept before. But what is the goal of bhakti? Jeev jago. You have already been sleeping in the lap of Maya. Now is the time to wake up, not to sleep nicely. So there is one meditation on the other end of one spectrum is what? That meditation which is putting you to sleep. On this end is that meditation which is asking you, now please wake up. There is less time. Ayur harati vaipumsam udyan ashtam cha yanasa. Tasyarte yachanonita uttama shloka vartaya. With every rising and setting of the sun, we are one step closer to death. So boss, fast. Do something fast. Don't again come back into this rotting material world. Don't get trapped by bogus advertisements which talk about some nonsense meditation where you waste your time. At best it will give you some physical relaxation, but it doesn't change the nature of the person. Bhakti Yoga meditation, chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra goes directly to the soul and changes your nature. All good qualities dawn upon the devotee. The so-called meditation will not give you that. You will watch that, you will do that meditation, come back and watch T20. Virender Sehwag made how many runs? Rahul Dravid retired or not retired? And you will like to watch whether what is happening to Sachin Tendulkar nowadays. This is what happens. After all that meditation, you will go back again into the same muck. And that is why it is not relevant for Kali Yuga. All this meditation, Prabhupada said, forget it. You rely upon him to control your mind. You don't try to do that. We will come now to that. Sorry, any other points on this?
Nowadays, those centers are moving good. Having big ashrams and dhyana and everything.
Yeah.
People go and stay for weeks and pay a lot of money.
So, still they are good. At least something, it is better than going to a pub, is going to these ashrams. At least there is some mode of goodness is there.
But
After coming back again, you will start drinking. That's what will happen. Yeah. It's like someone said, no, when we were doing program in Canada, there was one family, we said program on Friday. Friday don't do program, no. We are eating meat on Fridays. Other days we don't eat meat. I just said something very glorious, How does it matter whether you eat meat on Fridays? This is like saying, I'm a good man, I don't murder on Wednesdays. What do you mean by that? All other days anyway you are killing animals and putting them in your stomach. So what is so glorious about doing that activity? So there is no understanding of, there is a very superfluous understanding of even of dharma. Anyway, I don't know. I just got into that from some point which you made. What was the point you made?
Meditation.
Yeah, meditation. So after doing all the meditation, this meditation is not changing the heart. Yam, niyam and all, and then come back and again get into the same activities. So there is no point. It does not change, enlighten from within. You have a point?
So you mentioned about action in Krishna consciousness, and you mentioned that it is literally for preaching purposes, which is why we basically do that.
Not only, I said that largely, but even from a personal application point of view also, so that we don't get carried away by these mundane bigots. We don't go and, because there are many people who came to bhakti. Prabhupada said, it is sad if someone does not come to bhakti. But it is even sadder, if you like, for a person to come to bhakti and then leave it and go and, It's sad that someone does not have gulab jamun. But after getting gulab jamun, the person is going and eating stool. That is even worse. I gave you gulab jamun, you tasted it. Now like a pig you are tasting human excreta. That is even sad. Correct? So Prabhupada is cautioning us at the very outset that do not leave this path of bhakti. Don't get enamored with all the Ashtasiddhis, mystic powers that all this Ashtanga Yoga process will give. That too, these mystic powers, if you do it properly, it will come. Half the time nothing will come after the Ashtanga Yoga. Only what will come? Sleep will come. Correct? Or there also in the Ashtanga Yoga club, some lady will come and she will be sitting like this with scant clothes and then meditating, and the man is also meditating and he is seeing, oh, beautiful lady, okay. After the meditation I will go and talk to her, and then they will, after that some relationship will start there also. Some illicit relationship will start. This is what will happen in the meditation center. Correct, no? Because the man is always used to seeing the ladies who are in the mode of passion. So one lady, if he sees in the mode of goodness, two people, Changu and Mangu, will develop affection for one another. And then same thing will start. Again it will lead to sexual activity after that. So what is the point? What meditation center? Right? And this is happening. This has happened. I don't want to name, but most of the meditation centers people go, you can't carry on for a long time like that. Without a change in heart, one cannot sustain anything. It has to come from within the heart. Cleans the heart. True enlightenment. Krishna has to attract. Param drishta nivartante. Unless there is a higher taste, the lower taste cannot be overcome. Okay. So, we'll read 2 also. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga. See what Prabhupada is translating. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself in the Supreme. Which means what? The goal of renunciation must be linking to the Supreme. Same thing. Na iha yat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirtha pada sevaya jivanapi mritva hisa. That renunciation must be in relation to connecting to the Supreme. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Shashi Prabhu, you want to read?
Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as the living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in jnana and yoga processes is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity is to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All these purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness.
So in verse 1 and 2, which is what we will do today, the criteria of a perfect sannyasi and a perfect yogi is given. What is the criteria? There are three things. Perfect sannyasi and perfect yogi. First is, such a person works unattached to the fruits of one's work. Such a person is unattached to the fruits of his work. Number 2, such a person works as he is obligated. So a person who is a perfect sannyasi and a perfect yogi doesn't mean that there is inactivity. A person has to act based on as he is obligated. What do you mean by as he is obligated? If you are married and if you are in Grihastha ashram, you cannot say, I will not go to office. I am a Krishna devotee. After all, everything is Maya. From tomorrow I will not go to work. What do you mean by that? Then who asked you to marry? Anyone asked us to marry? Nobody forced. No? Parents must have forced. And you could have always said, no, I will not work. If you would have told your parents, I am never going to work, they would have not forced you to marry. Right? But after marriage, if you say, no, I will not execute my familial duties, that is not yoga. So a person who is a perfect yogi is one who does his duty, who fulfills the duty as required of that ashram, which means to provide for the necessities of life for wife, son, daughter. That much should be done. You don't have to provide BMW car for your Maserati car for your son. That is called as extravagance. A devotee doesn't run after extravagance. My son should only wear Abercrombie and Fitch t-shirts. So a devotee doesn't is not endeavoring for being able to afford all branded items for his or her son or daughter, right? So provide whatever is required. like that. So a person who is a perfect sannyasi or yogi has to work as obligated. And that obligations, where does it come from? From one's own mind? It comes from the scriptures. The scriptures give you what is your duty. We have to understand what is our duty from the scriptures, not invent our own duty. I think my duty, sometimes we ask people, why do you want 10 houses? Duty. What duty? No, one house here, one house there, 10 houses here, 15 cars. Is it duty? It's my duty to provide. No? It's not duty. It's our duty to give education. It's our duty to give clothing, food, shelter. That's a duty. But we have to know the fine line between duty and extravagance. How we know the fine line? Our mind will tell us what is that fine line. Correct? Correct, Mataji? Our mind will exactly tell us where is that fine line. Correct or no? No. Our mind will never tell us where is that fine line. I was just testing whether you are awake or sleeping. Our mind will never tell us what is that fine line. Our mind will tell us, अरे करो यार और थोड़ा आगे 15 घर ले लो 50 कार ले लो. Correct? Why you are driving Toyota hybrid? Buy BMW. Prestige बढ़ाओ society में. Our mind will never tell us that fine line. Who will tell us that fine line? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Our spiritual master, the scriptures will tell us. And devotees will tell. Prabhu, जरा ज़्यादा हो रहा है अभी बंद करो ना यार. क्यों इतना? Why you want to do so many things? No? Why you want to buy 10 houses and work 15 shifts? Correct? Live simply. Whatever comes in the husband's income, live with that. Why husband is going one job, wife is going another direction, so that some very opulent house can be built. Why? You don't need. Rather than that, buy whatever is affordable with the income of the husband. The wife takes care of the child. This is called as Vedic culture. In this, the house will be perfectly balanced. There are exceptional situations. We have to understand that. Practical realities means, yes, there are exceptional situations where the husband's health may not be okay, or where the family's financial position will be very bad, or because we are living in this country, the inflation is that, but even basic necessities, the husband's job may not be, stable or whatever. We can understand those situations. But practically we will have to do that. But don't do that for extravagance. Am I communicating or not? Don't mistake me. Why he is saying like this rascal? Don't stretch, over endeavor for extravagance. That's what Prabhupada is teaching all of us. Some practical adjustments you have to make, but they have to be really practical adjustments. Not that I want to upgrade my car, so my wife is doing another 10 jobs. Like that. We have a lot of people who think like that. I know of our Rasik Chandra Prabhu tells me in his Bhakti Vriksha program, 2 people not coming. Why? Because their whole dream is to buy some big mansion. Therefore, no time for doing bhakti. So that is not Vedic culture. So therefore, a person has to work as obligated and not over endeavor, not too attached to the fruits of one's work. Second. And third, Prabhupada writes, not that he lights no fire and performs no duty. So that is not a sannyasi. Escaping from our duties, day-to-day duties, is not renunciation. That is not renunciation. Not one who lights no fire and performs one duty. It's not a third point. It's not a mutually exclusive point. It's the same thing in one sense. Okay. So, what are the key things in this section? True renunciation means what? True renunciation means detachment from possessiveness and that tendency to enjoy the senses. That is true renunciation. Not mere cessation of activities. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. Simply by stopping to act, do anything, doesn't mean we are renounced. मेरे पति एकदम renounced है. Job पे जाने का ही नहीं है उनको. It is not like that. He doesn't want to work at all. At home also he doesn't want to work. He's just sitting on the couch. That's all. Neither he is doing anything nor anything. That is, he is very renounced. How does that sound? Or the husband tells the wife, a wife is very renounced. She never cooks at home. She doesn't do anything. What food? All Maya only. She is sleeping all the time. No activity. Is this renunciation? This is not renunciation. This is laziness. Okay. So renunciation means not mere cessation or stoppage of activities. So there is one point. Second point is Krishna consciousness is the ultimate plane of that selflessness or renunciation. It is a pinnacle of renunciation, is Krishna consciousness. Because a devotee only desires the pleasure of Krishna. Now let's understand this. What do you mean by the verse Ishavashyam idam sarvam? In Isopanishad there is the mantra number 1. Mantra 0 is the invocation mantra. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam. Mantra 1 is what? Ishavashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrudas kashasudana. Everything animate or inanimate is owned and controlled by this supreme personality of Godhead. One must only accept one's quota. Somebody was asking, what is the quota? Did you answer that later on? Next class. Interesting question. What is the quota? Someone asked. Okay. So please understand that everything animate or inanimate is owned by the Lord. Suppose I take your watch. प्रभु मैं दान धर्म करना चाहता हूँ. प्रभु आपका वॉच लेके मैं दान में दे दूँ. Suppose I tell you, I will take your t-shirt and give it as charity to the poor people. What will you think? You will say, why my t-shirt? You give your t-shirt, no? Correct? What is the big renunciation if I take from your pocket and do social work? Correct? So, who is the owner of everything? Krishna is anyway the owner of anything. So, what is there to renounce for me? He is the owner. Nothing anyway is with me. For example, a beggar cannot say a beggar on the streets who has never studied in life, who has never worked in life, okay, who is just sleeping and he is beggar, nobody is giving him employment. He cannot say, "Kya yaar aap log itna complicated, look how simply I am living." What you will tell him? Hey, do you have a choice first of all? तूने कुछ किया ना इसके लिए इधर पड़ा है. Correct? So therefore, when we are talking about renunciation, what is it that we own anyway that we have to renounce? Everything is owned by, तो उसका माल लेके मैं कहाँ से renunciation कर रहा हूँ? Everything is owned by him, correct? I am utilizing his products, whatever he has created. If something were belonging to me, I have created, then I can say that I am renouncing it. Like Devamrit Maharaj says, while going on the road, if you see Citibank, if you say, I renounce Citibank, मैंने त्याग कर दिया. अरे Citibank कभी था ही नहीं तेरा. जब तेरा कुछ हो ही नहीं, when you don't own that object, where is the question of you renouncing? Correct? So therefore Prabhupada is highlighting here, there is nothing actually called as renunciation in this world, because everything is owned by him. So Krishna consciousness is the ultimate perfection of that understanding of renunciation. By knowing that I don't own anything, there is nothing to renounce for me. Right? All we can do is renounce our bad habits, which definitely we own. We can renounce meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex and gambling by indulging in Krishna consciousness. That is the summum bonum of renunciation. Okay? We'll just go for 5 more minutes. Okay. Then Prabhupada is writing in these verses, Kali Yuga is better than, Karma Yoga is better than Ashtanga Yoga. I have written KY. Instead of Karma Yoga, I said Kali Yuga. My cheat notes. Okay, Karma Yoga is better than Ashtanga Yoga. Why? Because the practice of Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. One has to leave one's home, one has to go to a forest, and in the forest where has one to sit? One has to sit in a kusa mat. वो kusa mat पहले prepare करना पड़ेगा उधर बैठ के. Nobody is उधर. You will not say, भाई 5 रुपया kusa mat है क्या आपके दुकान में? No. In forest there is no दुकान. You have to only prepare kusa mat, and then you don't have Bengal tiger to go and have lunch. I have done Ashtanga Yoga. भूख लग रहा है. Can I call Domino's Pizza and order 2 pizzas? It will not work like that. You have to go to the forest and live on the forest fruits and flowers and cook yourself. For cooking, nobody will say, can you provide LPG connection in the forest? What is that? Yara gas. No, not Yara gas. What is that? Origin gas. वो भी नहीं है उधर. You have to, matchbox भी नहीं है to light a fire. You have to rub sticks and hands up if you are willing to do all this. Anyone here? One day if the power goes in our house, we are finished. No? Prabhu, there is no gas in the house. Can I come to your house? Like that, Hot water is not coming. We are so used to all this. So Prabhupada outrightly rejects. Stop this nonsense of going toward Ashtanga Yoga. It is not practical. Forget it. You cannot do. The process of bhakti can be done we're really going to your jobs, no need. You can be in your family and still go back to Godhead. Why take the difficult path unnecessarily? Second point is, even if you leave your home, go to the forest, you sit in that kusa mat and you eat those forest fruits, you cook your own food and you practice this Ashtanga Yoga, and if you come to a fairly advanced stage, what will happen? You will start getting Ashtasiddhis. You will start getting mystic powers. Now when you start getting mystic power, you will see that, Arey bhai, I am floating in the air. Correct? Now what do you want to do? Whenever you get anything, what do you do first? Whenever we buy a car, what do you do first? फ्रेंड के घर पे जाके आते हैं. अभी फ्रेंड को देखने के लिए जा रहे हैं, अपना नया गाड़ी लेके जाते हैं. You want to show whatever you have purchased. Whenever we buy a house, what we want to do? Please come to my house, Prabhu. I have bought new house there. Please come. And then everyone comes and says, Acha, Prabhu? No, Prabhu, all Yukta Vairagyam. All Krishna's mercy, Prabhu. Not you. Okay. So we want to show whatever that, because the mind still has a desire for recognition. So this is the basic problem with Ashtanga Yoga. So we will discuss more in the next class. We have discussed only part of verse 1 and 2. So there is much more. So next class we will continue through to text 9. We'll go till 9 itself, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll do more if time permits, to catch up. Srila Prabhupada ki.